Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. First things first, I would like to congratulate Miss Liz Truss, or as I call her, Miss Lazy Lizzie Truss, for acquiring, grabbing, achieving the position of Prime Minister of that fantastic country called Great Britain. I did not hide my assessment of this person, and I will not do it here either. And that is based on my short experience with her statements and her policies as a foreign minister of Great Britain, which I have to say I was not impressed, to say the least. And by observing someone's behavior and actions and statements, answers, how that person processes information, how that person acts, especially if the actions are not premeditated in a way that they're spontaneous, you figure out how that person is, or at least get to know that person very well. And I had this opportunity reading, watching, listening to many of Miss Truss's political interventions. I wish my very civilized and very educated British population a lot of luck in this situation that they are in. And I would ask a rhetorical question: how is this possible? They claim that Hitler was able to be voted, and his party voted in the parliament and Bundestag, right? And then he got the position of chancellor, and then he became what he became. And they say, well, he was not a smart guy, he was just pure evil. Okay, but Germany was the most advanced, together with Great Britain at that time, most advanced and civilized society, if you want to take it, on the whole planet. No offense for the United States, but the United States had a lot of gap to cover at that time. And still, the German people voted and elected the Nazis and had this guy in charge. I'm not comparing Liz Truss with Adolf Hitler whatsoever, for many reasons. One, I would not put them on the same par intellectually. Not because Adolf Hitler was a genius, but because Liz Truss is too low. This election or appointment of Liz Truss as the Prime Minister of Great Britain comes to tell us that maybe the methods of appointing or electing officials in the civilized countries has something not okay, because we profess a certain kind of values as these societies, and then we get this kind of people getting in power. And I don't have to give you just an example of Liz Truss. I can give you the example of Boris Johnson. I can give you the example of a few presidents in the United States that I was able to listen to or hear about, read about, and those could not. And you can take also the foreign minister of Germany, or the chancellor of Germany, the current one. These are not leaders, intellectuals, people that know, and you should be confident that they are in charge of countries like the United States of America, Germany, Great Britain, and many others. I could also point to now the problem with that lady who comes in parties, that prime minister, right, from Finland. Again, I can look at that one and many others, but it's just the value that it's stunning, or lack of value, and what are the mechanisms to get where you are with I would say obvious lack of intellect. I could talk about Boris Johnson, I can talk about Liz Truss, which I will. But that means it's not necessarily how much you know, how prepared you are for the job. is maybe like in a company, but a company is different than a state. In a company, you can get a position of leadership, by cutting people's legs and climb on other things, talking about making connections. You don't have to be the best at your job that you're supposed to do in order to get in a position of, supervision or directors or things. No, you have to have other, now it's called qualities. They're called qualities because the environment we live in is made in such a way that these defects of character, I would say, being a weasel, allows you to get a position of power in a position that you're not prepared to hold. And that's what I think Liz Truss is. People say, well, how do you know that? And well, I don't need too many examples because you get positives and negatives. I don't have any positive achievement coming from this person. All I have from what I observed, what I listened, her moving, talking, her statements, read her statements, I can say that she is very unimpressive, very unimpressive. I wouldn't allow her, if not allow her, it's not about me allowing her, but I wouldn't expect her to be near the post she was in. Now, people say, this is Liz Truss and blah, blah, blah. Let me give you two examples here. First, two articles, one coming to tell us that Liz Truss vows to cut taxes after winning. Well, she won, and we'll see, this is an article from Reuters from September 4th, and she said that she will cut taxes after winning vote. Well, my fellow British friends, I would like you to let me know when that happens. And when will not happen, she's going to come with, oh, I can't, it's impossible, the economy. Well, that's not why you are there. You are there to win, not to tell me why you lost or you failed. If you failed, get out, leave someone else to do it. Or at least do not promise things that you cannot achieve. Don't tell me that's a surprise for you. And then I have another article here, which this was was the incident that Liz Truss made me put my signature, date, and my blood on my paper where I said Liz Truss is really below 86 IQ. Now, she could be very good at what she's doing, because when you have to manipulate people, you want to have dumb people. You don't want to have intellectuals, smart people, because it's hard to manipulate. So maybe her position where she's at is in a good position, because whomever are the handlers of Liz Truss, that's okay. It's easy to move around and make her do stuff. Because if you have an independent person, intellectual, you're going to have some problems. But you have to have morality as well. You can be intellectual and be a mass murderer. And the incident I was talking was explained very nicely in this another article of Reuters, September 5th, 2022, where they say that Truss faces open Russian hostility from day one as British Prime Minister. I think she threw or cast the first rock towards Russia, so this is a cover-up. This Reuters article makes damage control for Liz Truss, okay? So you have to bear that. So everything that Liz Truss did bad, they turn it into, oh, come on, it was just a joke or something. But everything she did, nothing, because I don't know what she did good, to be honest. But let's see here. It says that Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, now that's a foreign minister. Or the Foreign Minister of India, Jaishankar, those guys are foreign ministers. Not Blinken, not Truss, not Annalena Baerbock of Germany. Those are not foreign affair ministers. Those are immature, not too much, and without too much knowledge. So Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov described their conversation as like a dialogue between deaf and mute people, comparing the fact that facts had bounced off her. No, there's I heard, and I made a video on this, is just a saying that it's in Romania too. You know, it's like when they two people meet and they don't understand one another on whatever issue they discuss, you say it's like the deaf met the mute. So that means everything they talk, I don't listen to you. Whatever you say, you don't talk on what I say. You don't hear what I say, but you talk. I don't want to talk about it, and I can't tell you. So that's an expression that's in Russian too. Is Russia too? So it's not to insult her. That's how they portrayed it. Like for Lavrov insulted her and so on. It was not meant to that. It's an expression where two idiots are meeting, which in this case was Truss and Lavrov. So it was not like she was the dumb one. It was both where we couldn't understand. It's just an expression. But you need knowledge, and you need to read books, and you need to do stuff in order to understand that that's a saying. It's not about one person. It's about both people involved in that interaction. After that, we made it clear, and then this is what what she said. Then a Russian newspaper reported that Truss, during their meeting, had inadvertently told Lavrov that Britain would never recognize Moscow's sovereignty over two Russian cities, Rostov and Voronezh, and had to be corrected by her ambassador. So, as I said, the Kremlin seized on the error as an example of Western leaders being poorly informed, yes, and superficial. That's what it is. Ill-informed. So Liz Truss went over there to Moscow to discuss with Lavrov. So a child with an adult. And Lavrov asked, we're talking about, as I said, Voronezh and Rostov. And she said, Britain will never recognize that, without even knowing that those cities were already Russian. And the ambassador elbowed her and said, hey, Miss Truss, those are Russian. Now, that tells me, that should tell us what kind of person Liz Truss is. When you don't know anything about the subject, what do you do? And you're asked a question about the subject, what do? You either say, well, I do not know anything about the subject. I'm sorry, I have to do more research and I come back and we discuss it. Or you can say, excuse me, let me ask this weasel who should know. Hey, what's going on? Okay, well, yeah, we recognize those because those are Russians. That's how it should have been for a decent intellectual person. But she did not do that. She answered in her ideology that she had. Ideologue. She said, no. If they said, well, how about Moscow? We never recognize Moscow as a Russian city. If she didn't know that Moscow was the capital of Russian Federation. So that tells me how she acted and will act, and she's not 20 to say, oh, she has time to mature. No, she's more than 20, right? I think she's over 40. I can't remember how old, maybe 50, I don't know. Maybe I think she's 50. So you had time to mature, I think. And to make such a mistake, that tell me that you use the same process of analyzing situations in other positions that you have. When someone told you something, you made a decision on without knowing the facts, and you made a decision. That's very dangerous, because she's going to be the prime minister. She is the prime minister. And she's going to be asked certain things and make decisions. And if she doesn't know anything about it, how is she going to act? As I stated before, let me get back to you, let me get information, or I'm just going to make a decision without knowing anything about the subject. Well, the second option is the one that Truss uses. I don't trust Truss. Maybe you guys trust her, but nevertheless, she's going to be in charge of decisions, allegedly, that she's going to make that will affect many, many people and many countries. I'm very terrified of that. Very terrified. That example is not about to see, Truss is just a... No. That's one example to say, yes, Truss is as she is, but I don't know if Voronezh or Rostov are, well, she was a foreign minister. That was her job. She has to know geography, geopolitics, history, culture. She has to know when you go to a country, you're briefed. Now, you're not briefed about Rostov and Voronezh, that's true, but you ask this guy here who has to be, or people that were appointed that have to be experts. That's why they are in Russia. That's why they are of the British embassy in Russia, the personnel. You get the best, you don't get the diversity hires. If you get diversity hires or weasels like Truss, there you have it. Well, it's okay. Now you can say, yeah, we have a woman again, and a prime minister. Okay, I don't care if she's a woman, if she's a little person, if it's a fat person, if it's a thin person. I care it to be good for the job, the most qualified, and she's not. far from being average for the job. And when you get to that position, you shouldn't be average. You shouldn't be the best, the best, the best. And she's the rest, not the best. I am very scared. Good luck to you, my friends, and we're gonna hear from this person. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.